Well, first of all, just tell us, what you do or what, as far as your business and what you guys
Okay.
do.
So my name's Tony Bennett. I'm owner of Red Light Food Plot Seed Company. Started doing food plots back in '07. From there, gradually just kept doing buddies food plots for them, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. Finally turned around, started making my own mixes. Went to Michigan State, took some horticulture classes and whatnot. Got a lot of that, um, knowledge from all of Michigan State and their agricultural department. Um, from there, started Red Light as a full-time business, or not a full-time business, but a part-time gig. Bought our own mixers, do all of our own custom blending of everything, and rest is history. Here we are, 5 different mixes. Do some custom blending for different guys around here, and yeah.
Do you have any, you've added a couple different mixes over the years, as far as what are the newest stuff you have coming out for this year?
Newest stuff for this year is our Field Perfection. It's part of the food chain line, is how I like to put it. Field Perfection, mixture of grains and brassicas. It fits pretty well for most of the Midwest areas. I personally use that for the last at least 2 years now. I've been working on that one, and every year just little bits of tweaks here and there, and I think I've got it dialed in pretty well right now. So works really well in the open fields if you're doing anything over an acre. Provides a ton of tonnage for everything all the way through wintertime, that fall wintertime. So where there's a lot of heavy grazing and whatnot. So
now, as far as the people have hard to access or not the most adequate spots to get equipment back into, what would you use for that?
That's why we designed our Deep Woods part of that food chain, or the food chain line is our Deep Woods. That is for your hard to reach spots. A lot of people call them throw and grows or whatever. It's not necessarily a throw and grow, but you can simply just throw it on the ground, walk over it, put a little fertilizer with it. Obviously, the best result is to always check your soil and whatnot and see where your pH level is, and ultimately that'll tell you how well your food plot's going to do. So, but our Deep Woods food chain line there, that's for your micro plots, that's for your hard to reach places, simple hand tools, whatnot. That one works extremely well for that.
Okay. Now, what I know I was looking on your site, and you even have you guys have teamed up this year with a company.
Mm-hmm.
What's that team, or what is that product as far as what it does for your food plots?
So we reached out to a local place, a couple towns away from here, Keller's Homestead. They do a lot of organic. I don't even know how to describe it. It's more organic fertilizer, but it's technically not a fertilizer. Their liquid humus, they kind of put that together for us to try on all of our food plots. So far, it's really shown that it makes a great improvement for how things grow. The germination rates skyrocket when you do it right off the bat, and you can put that stuff in the soil. Just all around seems to make your food plots grow efficiently.
Yeah.
When you use that. So.
And you can even use it in the garden to keep.
Yeah. My garden right now is exploding. So put it on twice so far, and the corn's already about waist high. So obviously it's doing its job.
It's a good way to spend money for hunting and keep the wife happy at the same time.
Best of both worlds.
All right, so we just got some questions we pulled. It might cover as far as different people around the state who are dealing with it. I mean, there's general stuff is what people are going to be asking, but first of all, as far as your soils, what are some important things to even get your soils ready? I mean, like I said, you could throw any seed in the market out there, but if the soil's not right, it's not going to work. So what are like, I mean, you could throw fertilizer to the cows come home, and if it's not right, it's not going to work. What would you recommend as far as getting everything, squared away?
So soil test. That's all I can say. Soil test. That will tell you exactly what that soil needs to make your plots the best they can be. A lot of people skimp on that. I mean, it's a simple $20, $30, $40 test, but it will save you so much in fertilizer. I could go on for hours on how the pH scale works and whatnot, but follow their recommendations to what you're trying to grow. That's the best thing I can tell you. Because if you don't and you skimp in areas, it'll only affect your food plot. So,
and fertilizer definitely isn't cheap these days. So I mean,
no.
If you can use less of it and get more results, it's probably in your best interest.
Absolutely. And lime's on the cheaper side than fertilizer. Right. So I would definitely recommend liming, correcting the soil, whether it's liming, or if you have too much or you're too high in the pH scale, more sulfur style fertilizers will bring that down. So to correct that on the higher scale. So there's a few things you can do.
You can get those either online or even go to like your local elevator, like Caledonia Farmers Elevator there, and get a soil test.
Yep. Caledonia Elevator, Michigan State, Whitetail Institute has a good one that's easy to read. Lots of the elevators, a lot of the universities, they have a lot of those things that'll get you going.
Yeah, I know I've made that back in the day. I didn't know enough, and just thought, oh, you just got to throw more fertilizer in it. Well, you're not.
No.
You might as well take your money out and start throwing that on the food plot because
light it on fire.
You have a better chance of having it grow.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go through another one here. How do I know when to plant? Is a question.
Okay.
People seem to ask a lot.
So when to plant? The best thing I can tell you is go online, Google your area, best time to plant. It ranges all over because of the frost dates. Basically where you range in the United States will tell you. Google has a pretty good idea on when's the best time to plant those. There's a lot of people out there that seem to be experts on when to plant these things, and honestly there is a good month area that'll tell you when the best time is to plant. So as long as you can stay within that month gap of planting, you should be all right. So like I said, go on Google, find your area. I mean, they do it for gardens too, and farmers still run by this too, when to plant their corn, and you got frost dates and whatnot. So that'll tell you the best way or when to plant what you want to plant.
And then along with, gotta pray for that rain at the same time.
Rain,
hopefully
man, if that's one big killer of food plot, it's moist.
Was it last summer that it was really dry?
Yeah, that July, man, last year we had it was almost all of July into early August.
I thought I saw pictures of you had your rig set up with a sprinkler with a water tank out there.
Yeah, I was trying to make it rain out there, so it was definitely a difficult year, and not just for everybody in general. It wasn't just for us. So
yeah, and then like depending on your zone too. Like I said, up here in northern Michigan, we get that frost a lot earlier than downstate.
Yep, and that's where we go back to finding your location, because everybody's frost dates are different. And up where you're from, I mean, you get snow way earlier than we ever do down here in the lower peninsula. So yeah, and that same goes for Ohio, Indiana, Minnesota, all different times and ranges. So definitely look into what you want to plant and the best time to plant that.
Okay. And then you guys, on top of your food plot seeds line, you also have your border mix.
Yep.
Tell us a little more about your border mixes and like basically not only what it is, but the best way to use it.
Border mixes or screening plots, as I kind of call them. Ours is hide and seek, and I got it kind of over my shoulder here. Throw it up there a little bit, but our hide and seek right here. it's a annual mix here that it grows about 6 to 8 feet. All depends on moisture and how much fertilizer you put on, so on, so forth. The biggest things with those is security, cover, and diversity. Now, breaking that down, so like the security is for the deer. Bucks don't like to go right out in the open. They wait till it gets dark. They know it's safe. They make their way out. Now, obviously, you can't hunt after dark. So, what you want to do is you want to build that security. It's like your safe place. It's your bedroom or whatever in your home, where you feel the most secure. That's where you want to be. You want to spend the most time hanging out, doing what you're doing. Same goes for deer, bucks, does, so on and so forth. They feel secure. That's where they're going to want to be. Cover, that's for you. I mean, it's hard sneaking across an open field to get to your blind or your tree stand, so on and so forth. If you can create a nice, 10-foot wide swath, straight line that you can walk on one side and the deer on the other, and you can't disturb them, I mean, that's a win for both of you. So,
I know a lot of guys. Joe Davis, his food plots are phenomenal.
Yep.
And his the way his wall system he has set up, and then you start reading a lot about it, and they like, you don't hunt a lot of property. Your goal is to keep them there as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an open field or open food plot, they can get through there in a couple minutes.
Yeah, and
especially during the rut.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the rut. Oh man, it's money if you can keep bucks on your property during the rut, especially here in Michigan. So everybody's trying to slaughter them, but that'll lead me into my last thing is the diversity though. Guys like to have the big open plots. Awesome, that's great, cool. But if your goal is to try to target and bring a buck into a specific spot in the daylight, dividing up your plots like you were just saying that Mr. Davis there, how he sections off and he keeps different deer in certain areas. That'll bring down the pressure for the deer so they're not so worried about bucks chasing them through everything. Bucks feel secure because you made your plots smaller now. So he'll want to come to your area more frequently and eat, feel safe, so on. So obviously your success will skyrocket when you can, diversify, make your plots smaller, and, section off. You can get in being, using the cover of this screening.
Yeah.
And then, so.
I mean, was it one person used to have one big 20-acre plot or something stupid, 10-acre plot, and they divided it literally into 1-acre plots.
Yep.
And they said they had a buck come in and check every little section.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And especially if does were there, he's going to scent check, especially during the rut. I mean, he'll check every area those does were in to check to see which is the hot doe. And then he just spends all the time in your area. So if he wants to go over to your neighbors at dark, hey, that's fine, because he'll come back in the daylight when you're there. So.
All right. Another question. I can't really access a lot of the questions that people got sent in, but I know one I remember. One guy was talking about the ratio of, I think it was turnips, and making sure he didn't put them in too heavy or too thick. How do you? Because a lot of times, guys, I think they especially with a small seed like that, right? You can't really tell how much you're putting down. They tend to want to go heavy on it until they actually see it.
Yeah.
Well, next thing you know, you got a bunch of leaves and you got little tiny bulbs.
So, seeding rate, or most brassicas, let's go with turnips, I guess. The 5 pound, 4 to 6, somewhere in there. I always err on side of going just a touch heavier. Reason being, if you're broadcasting using the hand spreader, so on, and you're walking this, doing this, you're gonna get tired at some point. You're gonna slow down as you start going one way. When you start off in the beginning, you're so jacked, you spin that thing like crazy, and next thing you know, you look down and you're like, man, I just blew through 5 pounds in like 50 feet. The best thing I can tell you to do is set your spreader or your hand spreader, walk behind, however you want to use it, to the absolute lowest setting you possibly can. Yes, you'll have to walk over it a few extra times. Yes, it's going to take a little bit longer, but you'll get the correct rate down. Everything's going to be happy when it grows. It'll have the spacing that it needs. and all around it'll be a better choice. So setting your spreader as low as you possibly can so that seed can come out. Going over it multiple times is better than opening the gate a little bit more, walking a little bit faster, spinning that spinner faster, so on and so forth, and then you burn through, that recommended rate. So, but anywhere from the 4 to 6 pounds is you're safe.
And stick to it. I think a big thing is know how big your food plot actually is.
Yep.
If you don't use the whole bag. If you get if you get a bag made for a half acre or a quarter acre and you only have a 16th or an eighth of a plot, don't use the whole
Don't use the whole thing. You will get stint growth. You will get growth. It'll be stint. It'll be a lot smaller. It won't get as diverse as it should. And some plants will take over others.
Yeah.
And that's trial and error. It happens. I did it. I mean, we all learned. So,
Yeah.
but just learn from our mistakes of just start low. I know it's a pain in the butt. It may sound like it's just coming out a little bit at a time, but you're actually doing the correct thing. So.
Yeah, and especially I think brassicas can kind of be fooling to you because when they start coming up, they look really scarce.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where
you'll think you messed up.
Oh,
because they'll be a foot apart.
Yeah. You'll see them come up sporadically, and then after a few weeks, you'll punch them with a little bit of fertilizer, and you'll notice a huge difference because they get big, they get leafy. I mean, like our Prestige Brassica mix.
Yep.
A lot more leaves, less bulbs. That's what I prefer in stuff. I've seen deer eat more of the leafy stuff than the bulbs during hunting season. And this is Michigan, so, but after that, then they start picking at the bulbs. After, seasons get dwindling down, making them through the winter, so on and so forth. But the big leafy stuff gets big, and it likes its space.
No, you have two there. So you have you have two different seed brands that have brassicas, right?
Yeah. So the Prestige is all brassica. It's straight brassica. It's got a few bulbs, turnips, and some radishes, and a few other things, and a lot more leafy. Vivint brassica. We have this Titan rapeseed. Gets massive, huge, big leaves. So that's where we need the spacing to let them develop and get to their big, to get to their potential. And then the field perfection. Why I created that is some of the grains in there are used as cover crops. They assist in the brassica in growing. Grains will last much longer into the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
They'll stay green longer. So they complement each other with grains and brassicas as one. So they assist each other, and they'll carry you long into the winter and then way into the summer. I mean, it'll last a long time. So, and if your plot gets mowed down, you probably need a bigger food plot. So.
Hey, so we got a question here from Brandon. He said, "Is there food in your screen mix?"
Is there food in our screen mix? So no. And the reason why we didn't put food in there, now technically some of it, the sorghum in there is a food. Wild game birds use that a ton. You'll see a ton of birds pick at the sorghum seeds once the heads start popping. But no food, strictly screening. We don't want to have the deer eating our screening or damaging it.
Stopping at the screen, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you want them to go past.
or stinting the screen, because I mean it's kind of defeating the purpose of having a screen. So putting food in your screens is you're kind of trying to accomplish two different things. So
Okay, did you what's the next one? Bradley Bennett.
okay.
Says, I have a clover pot I want to get rid of. What do I need to spray it with?
So clover, yeah. So you're gonna need. This is where we get into herbicides. So, and this seems to give some people some heartbreak on using herbicides. So, There is glyphosate. Glyphosate will work on clover, but clover is pretty hardy. You're going to have to either A, give that a really heavy dose of that, or B, you're going to have to come up with some different options on different types of like 2,4-Ds or what other herbicides out there that'll kill clover. I don't have all the names up on the top of my head of them, but clover is pretty hardy. Once it's established, it's there. It's very hard to get rid of. So you'll definitely have to use herbicides. You could try doing some tillage, but you're going to keep bringing up new seeds, and then you're going to bring yourself in a whole nother realm that you don't want to be a part of, where now you got to start killing weeds you didn't want in there. So.
Now, speaking of clover, you guys have a thing called First Due Clover. When people are trying to decide if they want to put a perennial like a clover in or an annual like your brassicas, what would make them do one or the other as far as putting a brassica in or a clover in?
So the number one thing before you even think about food plots is having a game plan on what you want to do. Now, a lot of people just jump in and go, I want a food plot. Awesome. It's cool. But you have to have a goal in mind of what you want to do when you have a food plot. Are you A, doing it to bring in deer to harvest them? Are you B, trying to create a food plot to bring more nutrients to the area? Are you creating more food for deer? There's a lot of different dynamics to a food plot. It's not just bringing the deer in and killing them. So when you're trying to decide between all of that and you come up with a plan, clover is a great option. Deer absolutely love it. I have several different clover plots that with our First Due. Clover is awesome nutrients. It builds up, all the things the fawn needs off the bat. Bucks, when they're trying to grow their antlers through velvet, has all the proteins in it, everything they need to get, an extra edge on growing their antlers. Does with the milk and all the nutrients that goes to that fawn. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. So with our clover, we have annuals and perennials in there. Now, why we did that is people nowadays want satisfaction. I want to see stuff right away. I want it to grow so it looks awesome. So why we did annuals, you get that first initial boom rush, cool, I got clover coming in. It assists the other clover, the other perennials that take a little bit longer to grow. So with that, they build up, and then, some people are like, oh man, it was so thin this year. It's like, well, wait till spring. Wait till those seeds sit over the winter time and they come up. And then, as soon as spring green ups hits, go out there, you mow it once, you're going to see clover like you've never seen clover before in that spot. So that stuff spreads like wildfire. I mean, it's awesome. And once you have a clover plot, just mow it, maintain it. I mean, they're easy to take care of. You have to maintain them. I mean, that's no different than guys going out and doing alfalfa fields and everything. They got to mow them. Yeah. Because otherwise, it's going to not help their cattle. I mean, they're going to get too high or anything like that. So, but now
as far as I know, you got to fertilize it quite a bit.
Okay.
As far as fertilizing, whether it's that First Due or your brassica mixes, do you do like an initial with the seed and then later on do more, or is it just one time and done?
Yeah. So first off, it comes down to your cost. Obviously, everybody's got a budget they want to stay in. Like I said, the soil test will give you some type of recommendation for what nutrients are needed for your soil for whatever you're trying to grow. So I prefer you put down half the rate in the beginning. You till it, get your soil, put down half your rate then put the rest of it on top. Now you have it in your soil and on top. That way, anything it rains, you get the initial hit of it, but the stuff that's breaking down the soil a little bit slower then feeds the plant as well. Now, putting down your full rate will give you that initial boost in what that plant needs right off the bat, but some plants will draw a lot more nutrients, and that comes down to those brassicas. They take a ton of nitrogen. to get rocking. And you see the pictures online, the big leaves. Guys are pulling up bulbs that are like football size. That's because they hit it with an additional round of nitrogen or whatever that potash or the phosphorus that was needed, and it just makes those plants explode on that second round. Now, the best time to do that is a question where you have to ask yourself, okay, is my plot coming up very well? Is it about 8 inches high, somewhere in there? Or even if it's up just a little bit, all depending on what you plant. If you can hit it that additional time with something that gives it an initial or gives it a big boost in growth, such as grains need nitrogen, brassica needs nitrogen. Clovers, on the other hand, alfalfas, chicory, that kind of stuff, they need a little bit more phosphorus and potash. So, and that'll boost that up. So, yeah. See, we got another visitor.
Oh yeah. Let me look through things here.
You're good.
I mean, that's a big thing because I mean I feel like hey, go ahead. Fertilizer's not cheap by any means, so people want to be able to use what they need, the right amount. Okay, one second.
Yep.
Hold on. She's in the camper. 5 video and a 5-year-old.
Yeah, you gotta lock them out. So that's your.
Speaking of that might actually be my next. There we go. Let me get my other question here. But yeah, I mean, everything is going up in cost. Fertilizer is crazy, and like you said, your cheapest, first of all, is your lime is what, $4 a bag, $5 a bag.
Yep.
So go heavy on your cheapest item.
Yep. And it does. And a lot of people think lime's an instant thing. It takes up to 3 months before it even reacts to the soil. So that's why guys start liming right in springtime. Let that just sit and let that start going in the soil, start changing it. So when it comes fall, boom, your pH will be corrected, and then you can go there. So
Would you think almost everybody needs lime? Or
no?
I mean, is that
not everybody needs lime?
more of like acidic grounds, like Northern Michigan's obviously more acidic.
And the biggest thing is when I go out and help guys, and I'm not a consultationist by any means. I sell seed. I just plant. That's all I can do. I mean, I'm a hunter just like everybody else. But if you look around and you see what trees are in your area before you even plant, before you even go around and say, yep, this is where I want my food plot. If you look around and see what trees are around there, that will tell you a great idea of what your soil already is. So say we have a ton of jack pine forest around us. Jack pine grows in the most acidic, nasty soil in the world. I mean, it grows great. That right there will just tell you right away, well, I'm probably going to need some lime. So, but ultimately the soil test will tell you where your pH is sitting at. So, but gauging what's kind of around the area and what's growing at that time will give you a general idea on what you're trying or what your soil pH could possibly be.
Okay. So let me get another. Do you have any answer for how do you see more daylight activity in food plots? I mean, did you really know like how to change that as far as?
Generally, I mean, bringing in more daytime activity comes down to understanding what your deer need. If you don't have any food around you, I mean, food will draw them in automatically. I mean, that right there. You know, food plots aren't always the answer either. Say you live in an ag area and you got a ton of ag around you and you don't need food. Maybe you need a smaller kill plot that you can draw deer into. But not only do you need a food plot, you will also need some other things that a deer will need. Every deer needs water. Put a small water hole in there. That's money right now. Anytime.
Yeah, I've done that, and I've noticed like huge. I'm talking about probably the biggest increase I've ever seen in deer movement just from putting a water hole in.
Water. Got every animal needs water. So give them food, give them water, and then, you know, what's a buck always looking for in the late years or into November is women. I mean, they're looking for does, man. So
The struggle of life.
if you can give them that central location, add a scrape, you know, a mock scrape, add a licking branch, add something into that plot to incorporate, that buck knows, hey, I can stop here, I can eat, I can get something to drink, and I can see who stopped by here overnight, during the day, whatever. He will visit that spot more frequently than you'll ever know when it comes to that rut time. So if you can create that area of what they need, and then two, say we hunt out into an area that's more open, creating those borders, those screening thing, cut off half of the you know, field that you're trying to do. You know, give that buck more security so he'll draw out earlier, not 10 minutes after dark or whatever. Give him that security so he'll come out earlier in the night so he can check out what's out in the field, get something to eat quicker so he can move on, because he's got to move. So once that rut kicks in.
Yep. Okay, one another thing is, so you have what's the best way to build up organic matter in your soil?
So to build up organic matter, that's going to take some time. There's no accelerant to it. You can dump a bunch of additives in the soil and whatnot. That'll help you build it. But to build true organic matter is every year you're going to have to break down what you grew that year. Clovers too will add nitrogen into the soil. Now you'll have to add, you know, you got to add some fixers and do a little bit with some different coatings. So they'll add the rhizomes into the soil, which create nitrogen, so on and so forth. So that'll help build up the soil. The breakdown of your, if you're doing grain plots, such as like rye, oats, wheat, so on and so forth, let those grow up in the springtime and then just terminate them, roll them down, let them break down over the years. That's what builds up organic matter, is the breakdown of plants. If you can just keep them there, just let them break down naturally. Yeah, if you use herbicide, it'll still work the same, but if you can keep breaking down those plants every single year, eventually you'll get to that point where your dirt will turn into, everybody calls good dirt. So if you can do that, that'll definitely build it up. But it is definitely a time, takes time. This isn't
especially depending on where you're at in your soil. It's going to take that much longer. Like in northern Michigan sandy soil.
Yeah, it's going to take you a few years to. So yeah,
my son might benefit from it. I'm not sure if I will by the time it's.
I've even seen some people mix manure and hay and they till it. The other big thing I've seen too, and you know, my other job is being a fireman too, is if you can burn off, and now some people get a little afraid about fire, but burning off dead vegetation, you're essentially accelerating the decaying of that plant and breaking it down, and it goes faster into that dirt. Mm-hmm. So, you know, fire is a good thing. And
make sure you know what you're doing.
Don't go out there and light the field on fire and just hope for the best. But definitely have some type of professional or somebody who's done that type of you know, those type of burns.
If you're looking for seed from them, you don't have to start your food plot on fire in order to get them out there to put it out to.
Yeah. Don't light your field on fire to talk food plots with me. That we got two different dynamics then.
That's going to cost you a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Yep. So
let's see what we feel. A couple more here. We already went over that. I mean, we have the risk of daylight. How do I know? We're trying to make sure we cover all the bases here with what people are wondering. Is there anything else, like, to wrap this up? What people just, I mean, how can people find you? And like I said, you have Red Light Food Plot Seed. He is a busy guy. He has a family. He's a full-time firefighter, but he also finds time to come up with some great seed. How can people better get a hold of you if they're interested in getting hold of some of your seed?
If you go online, www.redlightfoodplotseedco.com. That's got all of our mixes and everything that's available then. If you guys look and see what's on there, the easiest way to do is my phone number's on there. Call me, text me, email me. I don't care. Send it, because I like the one-on-one talking directly to the customer. So, because sometimes somebody's looking for one thing, yet there's a better direction for them. And that's why I like that one-on-one customer talk to, let's get you set in the right direction before you just go out and start throwing seed willy-nilly and then going, hey, this didn't grow or this didn't work out. You know, that's why I like the one-on-one conversations. Even if you have a general question about food plot, like I have no idea what I'm going to do. And then we'll start from square one and we'll try to build that up for you. So it's hard.
And the bad thing that a lot of companies don't offer, number one, you are here in Michigan, but number two, you do custom mixes. So it's not like you have to stick to just whatever you already have, but you already have some great seed mixes, but they don't solely have to just go by
Correct.
those.
So when we do custom mixes, though, I got a minimum order, though. It's got to be at least 50 pounds or more. It's how I have to do mixes. So if you're looking for something custom, it's going to be a lot more seed than probably the general person is looking for, such as like, hey, I got a half acre. I don't think you need 50 pounds of brassicas. Like, you'll have years of brassica then, like seed. So when we do custom, it's more for the larger scale person. I, generally like to talk to just I would say the average hunter. I mean, I have a few guys that come in, they've got bigger ranches, they got big acre farms. Awesome. That is a blast to get going and get set up. They have a big plan. They know what they want. They just call, I need this, this, and this, and I just make it. And they know what they need. So, but talking to the general, hunter, it's better to pick their brain, things they haven't thought about, things that they're looking to do, and you say, hey, what about this? Or try this, something a little bit different, just so they can be put in that right direction on what's best for them. So, you were talking a little bit about, what's like the best style plot or something like that, or what's the best size of plot. The best plots that I've seen over the years are anything from an acre down to 15 by 15 yards wide. Those small micro plots are deadly. I mean, if you can get a buck in that safe corridor where they can feed before they go out to the big ag fields or to the big cornfield, if you can cut them off for just that minute where they can sneak in, hit your plot and go, gives you enough time to get a shot off. And I mean, last year we shot two off of maybe 15 yards long by, I don't know, probably that big wide. I mean, it was their general travel. I mean, they went through the woods, boom, this plot was sitting in the middle, stopped, grabbed something to eat, checked the does there, off they went. Yeah, they weren't there for hours or anything like that, but it was their first stop. As soon as they left their bedding area, was to go through that area right at light, right when we could see them, and then move on. So micro plots, I think, are more deadlier than the bigger, I need 20, 15, 100 acre food plots. So, but in that sense too, some farms need to have that much just because of the deer density, how many deer they have to feed. They have to have that much. Where you're from up north there in upper Michigan, there's not that much food for them. So having bigger plots will draw them in, but you got to understand you're going to need a lot more food because of the deer density that's up there. So, I mean, 20 deer hammering your plots every single night, they're going to eat.
Yeah, they're not just like browsing. They're coming there to actually eat.
Yeah, those destination plots where they're ending up at every morning, every night, those you got to have tons of food in. Because that's what they're coming there for. They're all meeting there. They're all social gathering. That's where they're meeting. they're meeting, they're eating. I mean, that's what they're gonna do. So that's, I mean, that's, those are the two different dynamics, I guess, if you want to call that, for plot sizes.
Well, Tony, I think that's about it. But I appreciate your time tonight and all your information you're giving to people. And like I said, if you have any questions, people, get a hold of them. You can message them off of Red Flag Food Plot Seeds Facebook page. It has all his information on their email, his actual website's on there.
Yep.
But
we're also available, all the Caledonia elevators in Caledonia, Michigan, Lake Odessa, Charlotte. We're all available in there. Trying to work on just a few more dealers. But like I said, I like the one-on-one customers calling me and helping them out, talking food plots, talking specific goals that they're looking for ultimately for their property. So.
And like I said, if someone wants to be a dealer, if they're interested, if they have a store, they can get a hold of you.
Yep, absolutely.
Talk more about that.
Yep, we can do that. So.
Well, I appreciate it, Tony.
Steve,
and we will talk again soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Yep. Bye.